right, good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of the show Scoreboard Reloaded right here on 32 FM 94.9. Well, today is day 7 of the World Athletics Championship going on there in Tokyo, the 20th edition. And then for Nigeria, we had only one representative in all of the events for today. But you talk about the actions going on, where definitely it's concluded at this point. It has been an exciting day also for African representatives. You talk about in the world of the 200 meters and the 400 meters as well. We had the winners from the African continent, but just that it is not Nigeria. Well, in the women's semi-finals, you talk about the woman herself, that's from Ivory Coast, Talu. That's talking about Maria Jose Talu Smith. She's in the finals of the women's 200 meters, and she would be Africa's sole representative after finishing second in a semi-final with a time of 22.17 seconds. While you tell that for Leslie Tebogo finished second in a semi-final heat in a time of 19.95 seconds behind the Jamaicans Brian Level, who charged to a scorching 19.78 seconds to qualify for the finals in the men's 200 meters. And then you tell that what do we have from all of these ones? Like I said, it's been an exciting one from that's African countries, Botswana and maybe South Africa, and also Ivory Coast. That's the ongoing edition of the World Athletics Championship. And just before we came into the studio, we saw quite a few events, myself and Peter, where we then discussed about Nigeria, how we are getting it all wrong. Do we have the legs? Do we have the athletes who could represent the country in all of these events? The answer is yes, but why are we not at that stage yet? And it's all about our leadership, what we talk about in Nigerian sports, even as a nation at large. Well, I think that's the big problem we are facing on the African continent, and maybe that also transcends to our football. We are the Super Eagles of Nigeria. They dropped to 45th in the world ranking, which definitely is not the best for them, where you talk about their 5th in the latest World Cup qualification series. The game against South Africa, not the best of results for them, but can we just say BYE2, the edition of the FIFA Men's World Cup to be hosted by 3 nations in North America, the United States of America, Mexico, and Canada. And not the best for Nigeria. So we discuss about all of this on today's edition of the show. While we go back to yesterday, the games that went down in the UEFA Champions League, the Allianz Arena, it was a buzzing, 3-1. Bayern Munich defeated Chelsea. And then you talk about the other one, rapid starts for Liverpool. They are the Anfield against Atletico de Madrid. 3-2. They came out victorious. But what's that one thing for Liverpool this season? 5 games, they've had the winners late in that encounter or in their games. And then would you say that is sheer luck, or these are the stuff of a champion? Once again, you are listening to the voice of 𝐂𝐿𝐿, and I have Peter and DOLAPO with me in the studio. Together, we take a look at the latest developments making rounds in the world of sports, and also down to the big ones are set to go down today. It is the UEFA Champions League, match day 1, day 3 of the UEFA Champions League. 6 games still set to go down later today. Good afternoon, Peter. Good afternoon, DOLAPO.
Thank you for having me here.
Good afternoon, SAMIES, and good afternoon to everyone who has joined us on the show.
All right, before we talk about football stories, let's talk about the event there in Tokyo. That's Japan, the 20th edition of the World Athletics Championship. Where for Nigeria, we only had just one representative in the athletics event for today, and it was not the best of a result for him. That's talking about Nigeria's representative. That's in the 7 of the World Athletics Championship. Udodi Omozorike, Nigeria's representative in the men's 200 meters places 7th in the last semi-final heat with a time of 20.26. But no final slots for Nigerian at this point in time. But in the finals, we have one African, which definitely I think that would actually be good enough for Africa. But you talk about their dominance also, or their rise to that glory and also podium finish. We'll talk about African athletics and Botswana, to be precise. This all started, I would say, in the year 2023. They gained a much more prominence in the year 2023. And in the last 2 years, we've seen their growth in the world of athletics. Peter.
Yeah, it's been an eye-opener in the last few days, and seeing how these athletes have done. And I remember talking about how the smaller ones who are not household name in athletics are are really doing something massive. The last Olympic Games, we saw nations, the Caribbeans especially, with some of them with less than 500,000 million people, what they've achieved. And I also mentioned that on the continent of Africa, Nigeria has got the highest in population. But that we don't bring to bear. Kenya, as we speak, are second on the log behind the US. So we begin to call questions around how are we. We're excited, but not super excited when Nigeria had two in the semi-final for the 400 meters hurdles and the 200 meters. But earlier today, one of them finished 7th in the 200 meters, and that means it will not be in the final later. So it hasn't been the best. But when you begin to see countries who apparently were watching Nigeria do well in the last 25, 20 years in athletics, and now they're the ones, you see Botswana winning the 400 meters. Earlier we were watching, they finished first and third. And then you of course don't remember that they have a man who won the 200 meters.
The 200 meters.
So it begins to call to questions what we're not doing. And but you know, it was really exciting for me. That's why I'm not shocked that you see people in politics greeting Tobi Amusan when she came second, because we were all here saying we don't look like we're going to win anything.
Yes.
Knowing football that she was the one who came out to do that, release those videos of the kit that they were giving. But to my surprise, the way she went into that,
she has a name to protect.
Because Olympic wasn't good for her.
Yes.
So she needed to do something. Because if she didn't do anything, if she didn't come out tops in her event, probably people will be saying, hey, I think we need to move on. Tobi's time is gone. But this was a bold statement. And I'm happy that we took a look at the log.
More athletes in the 400 meters hurdles finals for tomorrow.
Yes, for tomorrow. So I'm not even sure about that. But if it comes good for us.
If that comes good, good for us. But in the men's 200 meters, we have the top boys, our lies, 19.51 seconds. So that was his time. You have Brand Level, also of Jamaica, 19.78 seconds. Kenny Bendanik, 19.80 seconds. Leslau Tebogo, 19.95. Remember, this man was disqualified from the finals of the 100 meters. Chanel Hughes, 19.95. We also have Shineshipo Dambila of South Africa, with 19.97 seconds. Alexander Ugando of that's in a time of 19.98 seconds, and then Tapin Wanashe Makarau of Zimbabwe, 19.98 seconds. That's what we have. And in the female final, we have just one woman from Africa. Her name is Maria Jose Talu Smith, being Africa's sole representative in the women's 200 meters final after finishing second. It's a time of 22.17 seconds. Everything just goes down to what we've been discussing about our growth on the African scene. But I think this is a bold statement for all African countries that you can't actually write off Africa when it comes to athletics these days. But then we talk about the 400 meters where we saw the finals. And talking about the 400 meters, we have two Botswana finishing that's in the medal position, first and third. But for the winner, he's 21 years old, Colin Kebinstapi, with a time of 43.53 seconds, national record, and the world lead for the year 2025. Jeremy Richards finished with a time of 42.72 seconds, and then Bayapon Dori of Botswana finished with a time of 44.20 seconds. So I think we need to move on and then talk about some other developments there from the world of athletics, where we have one woman also who definitely did so well for herself in that's talking about the 400 meters. She finished with a time of 47.78 seconds to win her first 400 meters global title as Sydney McLean-Levron. Well, we saw her sprint, and that's the first time in 39 years that we have seen a sub 48 seconds performance in the 400 meters race. So definitely a good one. We cross our fingers till tomorrow to see what the result would be for Nigeria in the 400 meters hurdle. Nathaniel Ezekiel is the name of the man set to represent Nigeria after he qualified for the finals yesterday. But let's move away from that and discuss about the FIFA ranking. The Super Eagles of Nigeria, not the best of position for us on the continent. Spain, still the world lead as places. Slovakia, most points scored, 25.31. 26th, Zimbabwe, biggest drop. Central African Republic, most points lost. For Nigeria, on the African continent, quickly taking a look at that. Not the best for us, but then we see that how did we find ourselves in this position? Well, we talk about the Super Eagles of Nigeria. I think it's just a result of what we've seen in recent days, DOLAPO.
Over the last few years, over the last few months, we've not been performing really well. We've not been playing well, and it is not something we should all expect. So when other nations are doing well, and then we have been sitting on calling ourselves giants without doing anything giants do. So it is just something I was expecting. The Moroccos of this world, the Senegals of this world are performing really well, and then we are there. We are still struggling. We are struggling to perform well in the World Cup qualifiers. We are not doing well in any footballing part. So I'm not surprised we've dropped. It's just all about these guys, the players, the NFF, and everybody in charge of Nigerian football not doing their job. Because when you look at it very well, this is not where we are supposed to be. We are not supposed to be behind the likes of Egypt, Côte d'Ivoire. But this is where we are finding ourselves. We've dropped down. And I think we were fourth before in Africa. Now we are moving down. And it will keep on going like this, especially if these countries would go for the World Cup and we won't be going. We will drop again. At the point in time, we were in third, we moved to fourth. Now we are going gradually, we are going down. And it is not good for Nigerian football. But it's all come to NFF not doing their job well. It's all comes to Nigerian Sports Commission not doing what they are supposed to do. Because when things like this happen in nations where they are doing things rightly, they are going the way things are supposed to go, they should be calling the NFF to come and explain why this thing is going like this. But since the game against South Africa, when we went to play in South Africa, I've not seen the NSC come out to release any statement or ask any questions. So there have not been questions asked about anything. And now we have dropped on the FIFA ranking, and there won't still be questions, there won't be anything. We move on. And this is one thing that has been affecting our sport over the last few years. It is just that we accept things like, okay, it has happened and it has happened. We are not ready to work on how we will change things. We are just going to keep on saying, okay, we move on from it and we move. We keep on moving, and it's keep getting bad. It's not getting any good. It's not looking like it's going to get better anytime soon. And it is not just good enough.
Peter, not being good enough. The nations ahead of us look like they would find their way to the World Cup in the year 2026. Morocco, without doubt, still the best on the African continent, 11th in the world. Senegal, still 18th in the world, second in Africa. Egypt dropped to one place in the world and also on the African continent. They are third. Algeria, they are 38th in the world and fourth on the African scene. Côte d'Ivoire, 5th in the African continent, 44th in the world. So like I said, these top guys, looks like they would actually be at the Men's World Cup, while the Super Eagles of Nigeria need to watch out from home at this point.
If you take a look at these top 10, the only two who might likely not be at the World Cup is the Super Eagles and the Eagles of Mali. So those two Eagles will not be there, but the Catholic Eagles of Tunisia might be there. Morocco, of course, have qualified for the World Cup. Senegal, that massive win in Mumbashi. Is it Lubumbashi or the capital of DR Congo? I mean, it was not the home ground for TB Mazembe. The big win for them. Egypt on their way, Algeria on their way. Ivory Coast, neither here nor there. They got a point in the game against Gabon. Nigeria, we know, even with the news that came out earlier today that South Africa 3 points with FIFA might go down, but it doesn't mean that we've got a place. Cameroon, bad result against 𝐃𝐈𝐒. South Africa, of course, so I think from these 10 that we have in front of us, 8 is likely going to go to the World Cup, and the other 2 are not likely. Maybe I say 7.5, because Cameroon, you're not too sure of what will become of them at the end of March the 10th of the qualifiers.
All right, so still on the world, Spain retain their position as that's the world best. Definitely, you can see that on the field of play and their approach to games. France, maybe I would question that. Second in the world. Argentina moved down.
There's no
third.
Sorry for boys, but this ranking does not do anything. I've said it many years. Each time I'm reporting and I'm seeing the world ranking, it doesn't really move me. Argentina are world champion. Just because I don't want number one does not mean that I don't know world champion.
Of course.
Who is the
that's
European?
Been 2 years ago.
Spain is European champion. They are world number 1. Portugal won the Euro Nations League.
Yes.
Where are they? They are world
Fifth.
number 5. Brazil had a dismal World Cup qualifier. Hey, they find a way to the World Cup. They are number 6. So all these things doesn't really count at the end of this. So when people say they disagree, this is what FIFA wants us to chew and eat and enjoy. They don't matter. But where it can matters is because when it gets to the point where we have to do seedings for major tournaments, FIFA will come and say, if you don't think it doesn't matter, for them it does. So they're going to come to this and use this as a yardstick to put things in terms of seeding. Because going to the World Cup in a year from now, this is what FIFA will be looking at. If this team gets qualified for the World Cup and they need to do the seeding, this is what they're going to use. So you have about 8 European teams, if I'm right, and then 2 South American teams in the top 10. This is the way it has been. If you look back 10, 15 years ago.
But there was a time also when Nigeria occupied the top 5.
How many people were born then? 94, there was a time.
That was no
How many?
more.
That's 31 years ago. Mommy, that's 31 years ago. So, Baba, ship that one. Forget about it. 31 years ago. This is 94, it's 31, right?
Yeah.
So, this is what we're talking about. Croatia is number 9, Italy is number 10. And look at where Germany are. That's the biggest in terms of the country that has won the World Cup in the last 3-4 editions of the World Cup, 2014, 18. So the last 3-4 editions of the World Cup, the Germans who were champion in 2014 are not in the top 10. So maybe for them, they have to look deep and see what happened. But trust the Germans, they'll find their way to the World Cup.
Trust the Germans to find their way to the World Cup. Let's see how that is. But then, still talking about World Cup qualifiers on the African continent, Zimbabwe is set to take their clash against Bafana of South Africa away from South Africa. That's the latest development from there. But now let's discuss about the biggest.
So that's how they want to take the game away from.
Now after.
Now that they want to, they come and play in Lagos. They won't play in Jebu.
In Lagos.
Where's the stadium?
In Lagos.
Stadium.
I had this argument of
Why did Lesotho and Zimbabwe?
proximity.
Yeah.
See, proximity can be defined in different ways. Does Nigeria and Chad share the same border?
Territory.
Proximity,
yeah.
you said yes. From which angle? From the northern end, right?
Yeah.
If you say Benin Republic also do, from
Yes.
which end? From this Lagos end,
yeah.
the west end. So, Mali can also say they also can cross in from Shaki, from what I've heard. I've never been that route before. So, when people say South Africa can only play their games, they like what it is. You can find out. Nigeria have so many escape routes.
Interesting.
So, when people say South Africa, Zimbabwe, Lesotho play their game because of proximity, Mami, how about the other countries in South Africa? Why can't they play their games there? What happened to go play your game in Botswana? Go play Madagascar, Mozambique. They're all South African countries. But now they say they want to go and play that game, a game that if they play that game under the moon, South Africa will still get what they need to qualify for the World Cup. So it's just late. All those things are just late. All everybody is waiting for now to wait is to see if FIFA will get that 3.3 goals away from them.
I'm not waiting again.
No. It's not in your ball because me.
In the next 6 days, I think you're going to find out.
Yes, and they have to make an appeal between now. For me, I am supporting Benin to go to the World Cup.
Yes,
now.
me too.
So as I've said, everyone. So I'm using myself. So I say everyone. You can define it the way you want to define it. I want that 3 goals to go, because I want Benin to go to the World Cup. I'm a Dawaranuni. We'll scatter everything.
In case you're wondering why Peter wants Benin to go to the FIFA Men's World Cup, take a look at the standing. We'll talk about the African continent. That's in Group C of the FIFA World Cup qualifiers on the African continent. South Africa, they occupy top position without that with 17 points.
Take it away now.
Make it
Benin, 14 points.
Benin, come and here and beat us.
They did it before, yeah. They won the first game.
Us.
They gave.
I'm not saying
I remember
they lost 2-1.
game in which Super Eagles scored first and we lost.
Yes.
Okay, you know another combination that a few friends are saying to me, take 3 points away from South Africa and just assume
and 3 goals.
And give it
They have 5 goals.
Give it to who?
Lesotho.
Give it to Lesotho.
What would they be on? 9
They'll be
points.
on 9 points and
So
-5.
Yes.
So
Same number
South
of
Africa
points
lose
with Benin.
the 2 games. Is that possible?
2.
Is that even possible? Knowing that South Africa will be saying that Nigeria beat Benin Republic. So is the
So they don't need us. No.
Benin, no, now the last game is now Nigeria against Benin.
Yes, that's the last game.
So South Africa will be saying that you guys are not going to the World Cup. Will you allow Benin Republic to?
Yes.
I think
I would prefer that.
for the sake of
No,
the
no,
man
no, no,
who
no, no,
actually led us to the games without permutations.
No, not even that. I would prefer Benin to go to the World Cup than South Africa to go to the World Cup.
Who are the two teams South Africa is playing in their next 2 games?
They are playing against
And for South Africa,
Rwanda.
they'll play against
I think they'll play with Rwanda.
South Africa.
And
I think they are playing against Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe first.
They're playing against Zimbabwe first. That's 6th of October.
And
Before
Rwanda.
playing against who?
Rwanda.
Rwanda. Yes.
Rwanda is their last game.
These guys will find out what to do. World Cup.
My fingers are still crossed that the next 6 days we'll know the verdict on the Bafana of South Africa. But now let's talk about the mother of all club competitions. That's the UEFA Champions League. All right, yesterday they're in the UEFA Champions League for the games that went down yesterday. Very sure Peter gave the results this morning. But then from the results of games that went down yesterday, which one did you see? I think all the results actually were evident, except Olympiacos and Paphos, where nobody could really call that this was going to be a game of draw. But for the other centers, we saw Ajax lost to Inter 2-0. We saw Bayern Munich defeat Chelsea 3-1, which I was so bold and confident that that was the result Bayern Munich were going to get. Liverpool also defeating Atletico de Madrid 3-2, and Paris Saint-Germain defeating Atlanta 4-0. And after that thumping, Ademola Lookman has resumed training with
That's right. Somebody asked on X, so somebody said, if that was Victor Osimhen.
Oh, okay. Or Victor Boniface. One of those two.
But I think appointment by Atalanta for Juric might not be the best. Might not be the best.
I looked at their squad yesterday. Really, they've
regressed.
Yeah,
they've regressed.
Maybe
left.
Maybe not. Maybe.
You look at the players that left.
Maybe not. Skamaka is back from injury, so they need to allow the former Genoa man to go to Saudi Pro League. I think it's the same, absolutely like 80-90% of the same squad that Gasperini left behind. The only problem is the mentality of the coach, and some of the players are aging. The Dutch midfielder who played for Middlesbrough at the point, Deron is, I think, should not be part of the team again. A little bit slow in that. So I think that the appointment of Ivan Juric, the Croatian, wasn't what I expected from Atalanta after they allowed Gasperini to join AS Roma. I thought they were going to go for a manager that would step them up a little bit. But that isn't the case. Now you see how they've not been able to do well. Now they've summoned the African Player of the Year back. Discussion was held between Ademola Lookman and Juric earlier. And so it needs him now, because if he doesn't, he might get the boots. So it was all those games were a good game. Again, Liverpool, how long will they keep coming out? 5 games now. Burnley, Arsenal, Newcastle, and now last time Atletico keep coming back. And that is not a good sign. Not a good
At the
sign.
start of the season.
Yes, I understand that people might say is the strength of a champion. It's not what you want to see your champion do week in, week out. They play Everton in Goodison Park this weekend.
If you want to do that as a champion, you should be doing it.
No, at Anfield.
It's not even if it were to be Everton's home, it's not the Goodison Park.
Oh, sorry. They've got a new ground now. I wanted to say the Merseyside derby.
Yeah, it's derby.
But later today, actions are set to continue. Today, it's the biggest one. Manchester City against Napoli.
Is that the biggest one? Well, that looks like the biggest one.
Because you look at some rivalries.
The Newcastle Barcelona look, yeah, that looked the biggest one to me. Not really Manchester City Napoli, because when you look at Antonio Conte, he's not really a UEFA Champions League coach. I'm sorry to say. The last time he performed
well,
was in 2013.
You look at the pedigree of the managers as well. Pep Guardiola against Antonio Conte compared to Hansi Flick against that Eddie Howe.
Don't put City into Hansi Flick against Eddie Howe. I'm not putting it that way. I'm putting it as a team. Now, Barcelona will be going to the St. James's Park.
All respect to Hansi Flick, all respect to Barcelona, Hansi Flick made them much more relevant again.
But they are still Barcelona.
You mean Barcelona?
Yeah.
They are still Barcelona.
They're still
No,
Barcelona
they are still
Football Club.
Barcelona. That club is.
what
They still have the name.
Football Club Barcelona.
They still have the name, and they will be going to St James Park
Hansi
against
Flick needed Barca.
Newcastle. Yes,
He needed Barca more than Barca needed him.
At that time, he was just
Barca
leaving
needed
the Jam-
something.
No.
He needed Barca more than Barca needed him.
At that time, he was coming from the
Man,
He was coming
he
from
was
the German
man.
league.
He was clamoring for Barca.
Yes, it was-
Even in the media, he wanted Barca. He wanted to coach Barca.
Because at that time, he was just leaving Germany where he didn't perform well, before he was
head
sacked.
coach.
So he needed a team that can work for him. Yes, he worked in the first season. He brought them back to where they are supposed to be. But still, it is still FC Barcelona. It is still that big team that they are. They are still one of the biggest in Spain.
But
So
for Newcastle tonight, I don't know what you guys make of this one. Newcastle, when they play the big side in the Premier League, there's a way they come out. I remember when they qualified for the Champions League, they didn't
against
do badly.
PSG,
They
they
didn't do
did
badly.
well.
Yes,
Against
they did
Dortmund.
well against AC Milan.
Yeah, they were very good.
So there's a way the fans always come out. There's a way the fans will always show that massive support for them. So for me tonight, I think the Man City Napoli game is a good one because it's Kevin De Bruyne going back, it's Rasmus Højlund going back to
Manchester,
City of Manchester. It's Conte also going back to the Premier League. And you mentioned earlier that Napoli under Conte or Conte under any head coach has not been the best in terms of Champions League, but it might shock us this season.
All right, as we look forward to that, we will just come tomorrow to discuss all the latest developments and make it around to the world of sports. But I personally also will be looking at